Hey, you want to see something really scary?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
What was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Welcome to Fright Night.
Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Shad.
This week, we're covering Nosferatu.
Come to me. Come to me. I've never shared my secret with any soul.
You've had these spells since childhood. Tell me what you can from the beginning.
It is like a dream. It was our wedding. When we turned around, everyone was dead. The stench of their bodies was horrible. Standing before me was death. But I had never been so happy.
This creature is a force more powerful than evil. Its desire is to consume all life on Earth.
Only you can redeem us. He is coming.
There is a devil in this world, and I have met him.
But he could never please me as he could. I'm ready.
This is the third version of Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Actually, third or fourth?
Third.
And right off the bat, let's just throw this out there. This is I want to say a remake, but this is a retelling of Dracula, because there is a lot of talk of, this movie's just like Dracula. Yes, it is, because it is a ripoff.
Yes, that's why the original film in 1922 got sued out of existence. They lost all their money, and they were supposed to destroy all the prints of it. Someone actually smuggled a few copies to America. That's the only way it survived. Otherwise, we would just have like screen or pictures of it, like still pictures, and that would be it. We wouldn't even know what this movie was like. So
this is a revisioning of the 1922's Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, which was a silent German expressionist film.
Yep, it was done by F.W. Murnau. You may remember that in the year 2000, they did a film about that called Shadow of the Vampire, about the making of the 1922 silent film, where Willem Dafoe played Max Schreck, who was playing Orloff in the movie. Orlok, sorry, not Orloff. And John Malkovich played the director, F.W. Murnau. He got a lot of like Academy Award buzz and everything at the time, but then it just kind of vanished, I think, because it's not available on Blu-ray or anything, so you haven't heard about it in years.
No, I own it. I think it's streaming somewhere. I think I saw it recently because everyone's looking for Nosferatu stuff, and that's buzzing. So I think you could see it. Maybe it's Tubi or Freevee, who knows. But yes, which that film was produced by Nicolas Cage. It was one of the producers on that Shadow of a Vampire, which is like, of course, Nicolas Cage produced that. It's a very good film, and not to dwell, but the Max Schreck, who's the actor that plays in the original 1922 version, he was kind of a weirdo. And
they were all weirdos. It was Germany in the 1920s.
Yes, but so much so that everyone thought that he was a vampire. Like, everyone was like, oh, and that's what that film is about. It's about like their experiences and like what supposedly happened behind the scenes. But it's definitely a great watch.
Speaking of weirdos, the next version of this happened almost 60 years later with Werner Herzog making Nosferatu the Vampire with another well-known weirdo, Klaus Kinski, as playing Count Orlok in this one. And that one's, that's not a silent film, obviously, but it's all in German. It's very atmospheric, very creepy. Klaus Kinski just breeds creepiness. Herzog, they're famous for the weird productions the two of them have done. They've exchanged gunfire, like they've stabbed each other. They've done crazy things on the sets. So I feel like the next movie they need to make is the making of that movie. But
the making of Nosferatu
from 79, yeah. So about every 45 to 50 something years we get a version of Nosferatu. Went from 22 to 79, and then we went from 79 to 2024.
Honestly, after this version, I don't think you need to make any more. I think we're good. Eggers' version, by the way, he saw this film VHS, of course, when he was 9 years old, and that film stayed with him. He wasn't growing up. He wasn't one of those kids that were watching, Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. That was too much for him. He was like, no, I'm good. He was into more of the Universal Monster and the Hammer films. So definitely heavily influenced. If this is the first time you're watching an Eggers film, he's done plenty of films before this one. His first one was The Witch.
The Witch.
I know. The Witch, which is an excellent film, but like all of Eggers' films, you have to be up for what he's going to contribute, and that's going to be a lot of history. He does a lot of research. He's, really into dialects and making sure, everything is the way it's supposed to be during set time, and folklore, and he's really into that kind of stuff. So it's not going to be like modern English, for a majority of his films. I would say maybe The Lighthouse would probably be like, quote unquote,
yeah, it's
normal English. But even though, even still, you have to have you have to be open-minded and just, and this is not like, oh, it's going to be like a vampire film where people are just all over the place. It's visually stunning. It definitely needs to be viewed on the big screen. It goes in the winter horror category. And if you're, have been listening to us, that is something that Shannon and I are really interested in. We really love winter horror. We want to see more of it.
And specifically, this is a Christmas film.
And yes, and it is a Christmas film, which is exactly why
it's a little bit of a Hallmark movie too.
Released
because the Count, she's married to a workaholic guy. He's always out doing his job. He's not staying at home like he's supposed to. So what happens? She falls in love with the Count from another country who pays attention to her.
No, that's not what happens at all. That's not.
That's close enough.
No. So we're gonna go through the cast. Just like Shadow of a Vampire, this one has a fantastic cast. Right off, we're gonna go with, who's Nosferatu, and as the whole world already knows, it's Bill Skarsgård, which he's coming back as a vampire because he was a vampire in the Netflix show Hemlock Grove, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It was very weird. and unique, and I love that show. So that's the first time I ever laid my eyes upon him. I believe one of his first things that he did. And you have William Dafoe as Von Franz. Lily Rose Depp is...
You'll know Willem Dafoe from everything where he's a weirdo.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, do I have to say who Willem Dafoe is?
Yeah, Willem Dafoe. And then I think the best thing I ever heard about him was they said in the Spider-Man movie, they shouldn't have made him wear the Green Goblin mask because he was scarier without the mask than he was with it. It was like he was actually less scary with a Green Goblin head on than he is with just his normal face. I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
Well, and you can see it too when he's twitching and kind of transitioning when he doesn't have the mask on.
Yeah.
He has like a psychotic break, and he's able to like go into the goblin face,
yeah,
and then come back to his. It's extraordinary.
I also love that Family Guy where Stewie's having the dream that Willem Dafoe's under his bed.
Oh.
He just looks down and Willem Dafoe's face just comes out from underneath the bed and goes, "You asleep yet?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I can wait."
Horrifying. Lily Rose Depp, she plays Ellen. Nicholas Hoult is Thomas. And Aaron Taylor Johnson is Frederick.
In his third movie role this year, once in The Fall Guy, which we watched recently and was excellent. And he's also coming out almost the same month, Kraven the Hunter, which is terrible.
Oh my God.
So I guess he's 2 out of 3 for the year, though, because Fall Guy's good, Nosferatu's good, Kraven's terrible. You can't win them all.
Well, I mean, you're right. You can't win them all.
And also, you got to remember, Nicholas Hoult has been in a couple of superhero movies, too. Played the Beast.
He was a Beast. He's
about to be Luthor. So you've got all these guys that do these, like, independent art film kind of things, and they go off and do the big studio movies. You can tell those, I think, are their paycheck movies, and then Nosferatu is what they really want to do. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny to see, like, so many guys from different superhero franchises in one movie.
Yeah, well, if you were tired of seeing him, spoiler alert, you're going to see him again in another movie we're going to cover in the future, which is 28 years later. He's also in that film. So,
which one, Holt or Johnson?
Johnson.
Okay.
So, not Holt.
It could go either way.
It could go either way. Remember that he was in Renfield. So, he was Renfield. So, he's solo. I've been a fan.
Nicolas Cage movie where he played Dracula after he produced a Dracula movie. It's getting super meta in here.
It is. I've been like obsessed with him since he did a movie with Hugh Grant called About a Boy. I wasn't obsessed with him then because he was a child. But then later on, when he became a older person, he was in Skins and the original. And I was like, okay. And, he's been Warm Bodies. He's all over the place. He's done he has unique, like, his choices are very unique.
Yeah, so unique that after the movie was over, Robert Eggers actually gave Nicholas Hoult Bill Skarsgård's prosthetic penis that they used when he was Count Orlok naked in the coffin, framed.
Yep.
That's an interesting conversation piece that you put up in your living room. I'm sorry, Nicholas, what is that? Oh, that's the vampire penis from a movie I was in. Were you wearing it? No.
Now, like the 1922 Nosferatu, they had to obviously change some things to not be completely, like, blatantly saying, like, we stole Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, ironically, they don't have to worry about copyright now.
Which they did. No, we don't. But Eggers made the 22 version his own version.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's ironic they could just call it Dracula now if they wanted to.
I guess, but it's not the difference between Dracula, and I'm going to go with Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, because technically that's the last Dracula that we have, right? And Nosferatu is, one is in black and white, the other one isn't. I feel like Yes, Bram Stoker's Dracula is gorgeous. Both films are gorgeous visually. And the costuming, freaking hands down, fantastical. Like, to wear any dress.
Yeah, the difference between the Dracula and the Nosferatu is Dracula typically is a very sexy vampire, and all the women are throwing themselves at him out of buildings, ships, whatever's going by. Nosferatu is a disgusting, horrifying freak with maggots on him and rotting flesh.
Okay. Yes, in the Eggers version, which is one of the differences between the Eggers version and the 22
even in the
version.
other versions of it, they're still creepy. They're bald, pointed ears.
Yes.
They're not attractive guys unless you're into Vulcans.
No, but at the same time, in Bram Stoker's Dracula, half of that movie, he's not sexy. And I'm going to be honest, I really wasn't into him, and I'm so sorry, Gary Oldman. I wasn't into Gary Oldman's look. I hated the little glasses. His clothing was fine, whatever, accurate. But I was not into him. I was not, I want to get with Gary Oldman. He just didn't do it for me.
Not even when he was the werewolf?
No. No. So,
be honest.
One of the other, there's actually a lot of differences. I'm gonna break them down. Okay. Willem Dafoe's character Von Franz does not exist in the 22 version. There isn't a vampire hunter per se in this one. There wasn't one in the 1922 version. So he's not supposed to be, he is and is not supposed to be obviously a Van Helsing-esque kind of character. Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is Friedrich. He actually, that character or that person that he's supposed to be actually has a sister in the 22 version. He's not married with twins. So that's something, different. And then to get into like the whole look of Count Orlok, which a lot of people are like, what the hell is this look? Which they, hid for a long time. It's not until you actually see the costuming choices down to like his hat was chosen very specifically for one reason is to cover his face. Half
his face is covered by that mustache.
That is another choice. So Eggers wanted Nosferatu to look more like a 15th century Romanian Transylvanian nobleman. So that's why he's wearing those clothes.
Yeah, the giant mustache and everything. Yeah. That was a big symbol of virility, was having the big mustache.
Yes, and then the big mustache, which, if you remember, you've ever seen a painting of Vlad the Third, Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Dracula. No, not
Mustache Ferratu. The mustache just detaches and flies off on its own like a bat.
So the look of the mustache is, I feel like it is definitely accurate of his time, and so is the clothing. Of the time of when he would have been, a man in his, whatever. We're now in the 1800s. It's like 1830 in this.
1838 in this one.
Later on. So he'd been around for a little bit. But he's still donning. Because he's a nobleman. What is he going to do? He's going to go out to get the latest trends? I don't think so. And he's living in the castle, like, in the middle of nowhere.
And speaking of the castle, the 1922 version, the 1979 version, and this version all filmed in the same castle. I thought was interesting.
That is very interesting.
That place is standing after all this time, after hundreds of years. It's still standing and still filming vampire movies in it. Like, that's just crazy that it's still there,
Yeah, well, they lick the rocks and stick them on top of one another.
I guess they do, because it's holding up. It looks pretty good. At least the parts they're filming in. Who knows what the rest of the place looks like.
Looks cold. That's what it looks like. Very cold.
Yeah, I can't imagine any of those castles were ever warm.
And then folk vampires. In literature and different works, when vampires were described, they were described to visually be similar to zombies. And that's the look that he went for this look. The Max Schreck, Count Orlok look of the 22 version is, like Shad said, it's more animal-like, it's more bat-like, the pointy ears, the long fingers, the bald head, and he's just wearing a long black, coat. That look is completely different from what we see here, which is just a rotting corpse. Which, I mean, think about it. It would be a rotting corpse, right? It's not... It's... Vampires are not meant to be, like you described, like a sexy, sparkly vampire, you know?
And the Klaus Kinski version was a little closer to, like, the Max Schreck version. He was more just kind of like a pale guy with long fingers, bald. They didn't give him the pointed ears, but they gave him, like, some prosthetics to his ears and his face to make him look a little creepier, which he didn't have to try too hard with Klaus Kinski, so...
Now, I ran out Christmas Day, left my family behind, opened the presents, was like, bah, ran out, and my most fashionable goth wear to go view this film. Because I've been waiting for this film since 2016, okay?
Yeah, they've been putting this off for a while.
In an interview that Eggers had with IndieWire in 2016, they asked him what is a movie that he wants to do. And he was like, my next movie is going to be Nosferatu. Now, obviously, that wasn't his next movie because things happened and, here we are. He did have rough drafts and his ideas jotted down like very 9 years ago.
Anna Taylor-Joy was supposed to do the Lily Rose Depp part originally.
And I'm really sad about that. And I am mad that she was too busy doing Furiosa to be in this film, because Lily Rose Depp, fine, whatever, but you have nothing on, I'm sorry, Anna Taylor-Joy. You ain't Anna Taylor-Joy. I love her, and she would have been amazing in this film. But Lily Rose Depp, she was fine. She was fine. Mind you, this is the other thing, the other difference. In the 22 version, there's no connection between Orlok and Ellen. They do not have a connection. It is the same, he just comes over and terrorizes a town. Like, the end. They went back and gave a connection to, like, from when she's like a kid, basically. She's been, and that's why she's so enthralled and so discombobulated, because this has been with her for years. She's been tied to this monster. And, I think it's also interesting how they gave Holt, Thomas, they gave him more like I don't want to say feminist role, but he's more afraid than... Lily Rose Depp is not afraid. Ellen is not afraid. She bothered. She want to just live her life with, Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult, he just wants to provide a good life for them. And that's how he gets all in this mix. That they did stay with the whole, like, that he's a real estate agent, basically, and that he goes over there and assists. That did not change. But the other thing that I don't remember was that they had, like, the head of the real estate house, like his boss, becomes...
Yeah, he became the Renfield type character in this one. Instead of Renfield just being a separate guy that was, came in from nowhere, he was the real estate guy. Orlok had contacted him and already kind of made promises to him, whether psychically or whatever, that, I'll make you immortal, I'm going to do these things for you. And that's where he went crazy, because he was already dreaming of becoming a vampire and the power and all that kind of stuff. Which I thought was cool. It was interesting because they gave him a little bit more... Because Renfield always just came out of nowhere, He was just a guy that popped up. I think the best Renfield-like character I've seen was on that Dark Shadows revival series they did in the 90s, where the guy actually dug the vampire up out of the ground, found him, and that's why he, like, kept him around as his, like, servant, because he's like, you brought me out, you saved my life. You're kind of an idiot, but I'll keep you around just because you did save me. So, makes a little more sense that way.
I liked that version.
Yeah, that was good.
I own that version. Just like the black and white, film. This has its moments. It is in color in some regards. In some regards, it's in black or white, or it's in color the whole time. But because it's so dark in some places, it looks like it's black and white.
Everything, all the color palette is very much black and white, even though it is in color.
Yeah, I don't care what he did. It looks great. It's just so beautiful. It's not fast paced. I mean, the movie's over 2 hours long, so you don't go in there thinking you're gonna see a fast paced zippity vampire that's, you know, sexy and before anyone even, like, only the people I guess that saw like the pre-screen or whatever was talking about the, you know, the Nosferatu junk, right? Yeah. Oh, they were talking about. I'm like, who? What do you mean? Why are they even showing that? And why are women going crazy over this? Because this was supposed to be. I don't know what the big deal was. They act like they never saw a penis before. Also, it was not a penis that everyone should be talking about. It's just there. There's nothing special about it. It's just like a rotting piece of flesh. I
think it was just a surprise because typically Dracula's always sleeping in his very fancy suit in his coffin. When they cracked his open, he's just naked in the coffin.
He liked to sleep naked.
And you weren't really sure if the clothes were just an illusion that he was giving in people's mind. Was he really walking around naked the whole time? Because there's the scene where he bites someone, and when he comes to him, he's wearing the clothes. Then when you see him later biting them, he's just naked on them.
Okay,
so the clothes, I think, were just kind of an illusion he was projecting. He was just walking around naked the whole time.
I disagree with you, sir. I'm going to tell you what I think. I think this, I just said, this is a 15th century, 1500s nobleman, okay? He don't want to get, first of all, there's no dry cleaner, and he don't have anyone to do his biddings, okay, to out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, there were no Dracula brides in there doing the housework.
No, there weren't. So he doesn't want to get his only robes, because it's not like he had like a plethora, like he got the fucking clueless closet of like nobleman clothes. He got one coat. He didn't want to get it dirty. So when he does his business,
got bags of gold. He can afford to buy a new one.
No, the bags of gold. He's a hoarder. He just collects these bags of gold. He does not go out on a shopping spree and spend it on himself. He don't got time for that. He literally is going out and he's just eating away, you know, doing his crazy biddings. He doesn't want to get dirty. That basically is what I'm trying to say. No blood on him. So he needs to be naked. A lot of people eat when they're naked. I don't know what kind of people these are, but I know there are people out there in the world that just want to eat a ham sandwich, you know, naked on their couch. I again, I don't know who this person is, but there, like you said in another show of ours, there's always someone's into something.
Yeah, somebody out there is into it somewhere.
Now, when we watched the film separately, because we had to, you watched the film, you came back, you were like, meh. You weren't really into the film because you thought it was too long. And then you said you would get more in depth when we did the cast.
I liked it fine. There's nothing wrong with the movie. I just thought it was a little long, but it could just be because I was a little tired too. But I just thought there was a little bit of it that could have been trimmed. But it's the same thing with the Werner Herzog version. There's a few scenes where they're just walking through the woods and that kind of stuff that can be cut down a little bit. It doesn't really add a whole lot to it to just see him trudging through the woods. But other than that, I like the movie fine. I like the fact of it that when Dracula comes to town, it's not just Dracula coming in, and well, I say Dracula, but it's Orlok in this one. But when the vampire comes to town, he's not just one guy that comes and eats one person a night, and then that's it. He brings the plague with him. He brings thousands of rats that are spreading the plague everywhere. Everybody's dying. Because then it's real hard to tell who's dying because of the vampire bites and who's dying because of the plague.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting twist. And I always love the scenes from any Dracula version or Nosferatu where they're on the ship, where they're on the Demeter, coming from wherever to England or to, in this case, to another city in Germany. When they're coming on the ship, I always love those scenes because those poor bastards on the ship are just stuck on there with the vampire and no way to get off. And by the time they realize what's going on, it's too late. Dracula's already eaten half the crew. So I've always loved those images of like where the ship crashes, the guy's lashed to the wheel, just trying to like make it there.
Yeah.
So I've always loved that. And this version does a great job with that, like showing. It's not very long scene, but it does show what's going on. They don't say the Demeter, but just the ship that's going on. You get to see what happens there, and I love that part.
Yeah, I did like the transition from where he was at over to England. And so...
Well, it's still in Germany in this one.
Oh, in Germany, I'm so sorry.
He just went from one part of Europe to another in this one.
So, I don't know why I had he was in England. Oh, I'm thinking about Dracula. You heard Dracula so many times. I got Bram Stoker's Dracula in my head. Yeah, because they do show him eating off. Because I'm like, you got to take a snack with you. You're going to travel for so long, right? But he decided to just eat everybody in the ship. Which I'm like, then who's steering the damn ship, man?
That's what I said, the last guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think he even like had a last guy. He just ate everybody.
The ship just crashed.
No.
Yeah, so the Netflix series they did a few years ago, Dracula, I think it's just called Dracula, did a great, like one whole episode of it was all about all the Demeter coming over and how Dracula was kind of conning everybody into not realizing it was him. It was pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good. Now, the ending of the film, yeah, that's like an image I'm like, okay. There are certain parts of the film that, this is not a film you want to like, go with your parents. Like, I'm like, who took their kids to see this movie? That's what I want to know, because man, they did not know what was going to happen, because there's a lot that even my own eyes was like, whoa, let's back it up there. Lily Rose Depp has several moments in the film where she's acting real cray. And she actually does the contortions in that part where she's she does a great job with that. Freaking the heck out. Yeah, so when she's possessed, I had to hold back because I was going to say repossessed. I love the fact that Willem Dafoe just, as soon as they walked in, her cat's on there, he's like, and who is this creature? Yeah. Are you her owner? He's like, she has no master. And he goes, of course she doesn't. And just immediately, just like Willem Dafoe's like, I need another cat. Because Willem Dafoe is a crazy cat man. They're few and far between, but when they're out there, thank you, representation for the crazy cat man. It's always the crazy cat ladies. Where's the crazy cat man? I need more of them. Willem Dafoe in there in his fancy fucking smoking jacket, just smoking a pipe in the house with full of cats. And bajillions of books. This is like your single man's life. Yeah, this is just like living the dream right there. You just living the dream. He's got his fancy jacket, his fancy pipe, his books, his fire, and a bunch of cats. He's set for life. Yeah, he was more of a historian. Yeah, he was more into the folklore of it, and they got. Because he wasn't like Van Helsing, like he knew, like, oh yeah, this is what you got to do to kill him. Like, I like that other thing that's like, we don't know what this thing is, we don't know how to take it out. Like, we only just read what we've read. He's like, this is what we've read. He was more of like an English teacher that got off on a tangent, and they fired him from the college because he wrote papers that they didn't like. Yeah, he wasn't a doctor like Van Helsing, where he was like, you're explaining the medical reasons of the vampire. He, like I said, was just more of like a folklorist, a history kind of guy that knew enough about it that they could go ask him about questions about it, and he wouldn't think they were completely crazy. Because, of course, Willem Dafoe wouldn't think you were crazy when you ask him something like that. I love Willem Dafoe, but at the same time, any movie he's in, he's just Willem Dafoe. Like, I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's him. I feel like he's just one of those guys that whatever part he plays, I still see just Willem Dafoe on there, you know? It's not bad, but he's played so many amazing things over the years that it's just hard to separate them all. Now, the film, like most films nowadays, has like several, maybe over 10 producers of the film. Yeah. But let's just focus when I'm looking at, I'm waiting, I'm looking at the credits, and I see one of the producers named Chris Columbus, and I was like, what? Chris Columbus? What's Chris Columbus doing in this movie? If you don't know who Chris Columbus is, I'm not here to tell you that. You should already know. You just need to go and Google that. But yeah, that was a weird name to see. But I guess Eggers and him are pretty tight
like he seeks like, you know, and not want to say advice, but he's like, hey, Chris Columbus, I gotta learn a thing or two. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what Eggers is going to do next. Supposedly, it's going to be Labyrinth, and I don't know how. I don't know yet. I don't know. As long as they don't get Timothy Chalamet, okay, to be Labyrinth, to be Jareth. He could be the Labyrinth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let Timothy Chalamet be the Labyrinth.
Let them walk all over him. You know,
he can be Ludo.
Yeah, no.
He'd be the voice of Ludo.
He cannot be the voice of Ludo. He could be one of the fiery, stupid things that rip their heads off that I hate so bad. I'm not gonna even. I love Labyrinth, but I'm not gonna justify the names of those stupid fire things.
Hoggle. He could be Timothy Chalamet. Could be Hoggle.
He actually could. He could be Hoggle. No, Warwick Davis would be Hoggle. Okay. Jareth, Mike was like Dan Stevens, and I'm like, okay, I could see Dan Stevens. He's classically trained. He could sing a song. Yeah. You know, I don't think he's tall enough though. But yes, we all know no one is gonna be compared. Like you can't. David Bowie. This is gonna be a completely other. I can't put it in my head like, oh, they're trying to find David Bowie, because David Bowie was not of this earth. So you cannot get someone else like David Bowie.
Yeah, you're never going to find another David Bowie. Like I said, you can trace everything that's gone wrong in the world back to 2016 when David Bowie died, because he was like the universal guardian that was protecting Earth. And when he got called away back to the fucking guardian realm, that's when everything started going wrong.
That just made me so sad.
Yeah.
God.
They should.
God. I have never heard that from you or anybody for that matter, and that is just beautiful.
Once David Bowie died, 2016 was downhill from there. He died like right at the first of the year, and everything went downhill from there.
Ain't that the fucking truth? Ain't that the truth? Bill Skarsgård's voice.
Yeah, he definitely went out of his way to be creepy, because he didn't have to worry about the voice in the 1922 version, and Klaus Kinski is just fucking Klaus Kinski, so he just did his normal voice. I think in that one it was still creepy, but yeah, Skarsgård sounds like he's doing like, what was it they said, like that Tibetan throat singing he's trying to like imitate, and like he worked with a vocal coach to get his voice down a couple of octaves. It's very impressive.
Yeah, it is very impressive. He's just so fucking talented, and it's one of those like, I think, and I don't want to say this, but I don't want to say he's more talented when he's not himself. He's just like actors have said before, when they're under the makeup, they're really able to transform themselves into another person, another character. And he just does that so beautifully, because there is no, like, I'm like, I hear and I see Nosferatu, and I think of Pennywise completely different.
Yeah.
Two completely different, And
I think, too, that it goes back to the thing that James Earl Jones said in an interview when they asked him, like, why he played, such a convincing villain in Star Wars and in Conan and that. And he said, throughout his life, it's always been true that the more quiet, nice guys you meet in real life will play the best villains, because they channel all their energy that all the things that they push down and don't get mad about in real life, they channel that into those performances. So when, James Earl Jones is out there riding on a horse in Conan, telling other people to chop off people's heads, he's thinking about all the people that have pissed him off all the years, and he's putting all that into that performance. I think he does the same kind of thing, because you see behind the scenes with him, and he's like high-fiving all the kids and go, let's go out there and kill the shit out of me today. And doing and he's just dancing around being funny, but then he's on screen and you're like, oh no, that's just super creepy and weird. He went all out.
Yeah, he bugged out his own eyes.
Yeah. Like that fucking video with him and Bill Hader where he does it, it's like, they used CGI to do that, right? He's like, no, they didn't. He just does it where he can make his eyes look different directions. You see Bill Hader just scream and run away. I love that so much.
So I give this 4 knives, and I mean the Eggers version of Nosferatu.
Yeah, I will as well.
You are going to give it 4 knives. Okay.
Yeah, my only quibble that I thought it was a little bit long.
You're allowed to have a quibble. I've been waiting for this movie for ages, okay? Ages. I was like, I could not wait any longer. I was like, it's out. And normally we don't do this because we don't have the luxury of just leaving and going and watching a film. There's a lot more than, that we have to do in order to do that. But, this was like a planned outing for me to go view this because I've just been dying to see. Now I gotta wait to see this Labyrinth. Like, who knows when that's gonna start. And, when Eggers is like, oh yeah, this is gonna be my next movie, really he means this is gonna be like my 5th movie down the line, like, yeah, because he doesn't rush into something, and he may be doing something else, like all these people are. When they're on one movie, they're already thinking about the next and getting the people to come on for the next film, and they're on the next one, so it's like 1 foot out the door kind of thing. But yeah, 4 knives for me.
Yeah, I'll give it 4 knives too. And this version is amazing, but check out the other versions too. It's definitely worth watching the silent one just to see where a lot of their influences come from. And there's different versions of it you can watch out there with different music. They've even got one out now with the music of Radiohead to accompany it.
Yes.
Some people, I think you can look online. There are people that have like their own playlists to play during the silent one. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun to do.
Yeah, and then the Herzog one is interesting. There's a lot of creepiness in that. Like, they used actual mummies that they, like, bribed their way into a museum and filmed at one point. Like, Herzog's just crazy, man. And then I can never get over him being on Parks and Rec, where he's just the guy that's like, yes, I'm selling the house so I can move to Orlando and be closer to Disneyland and the children. And you're like, why does he want to be close to the children? Is he going to eat them? No, it's possible.
Yeah, you definitely don't know what that guy. And I haven't seen that one, but every time I think of the Herzog version, all I'm thinking of in my head, I see in my head is the Andy Warhol version of, what was it?
Oh, The Blood for Dracula. That's with Udo Kier, who's a weirdo, but nowhere near the level of Klaus Kinski.
No, I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely not. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our review. Was it a review? On our discussion on Eggers Nosferatu. Definitely check it out.
Hopefully the sequel, Nosferatu, will be out soon.
No damn No, we're good. We don't, like I said, this doesn't need to be made again. I think we're good.
Nosferatu 2.
He covered the light and the shadow. He did the visually, it's stunning. The costuming was amazing. Everyone did a great job. The whole I'm watching the film, I'm like, Oscar. Like, and I'm not one to be like, oh, whatever. And yes, technically, there aren't a lot of horror movies that get an Oscar nod. I think the only one is obviously Silence of the Lambs that has won.
Yeah, that's the one that's won. There's been a couple nominated for things here and there, but that's the only one that's won.
Yeah, that's one. Nominated, whatever. It's mostly going to be, if anything, it's all exactly what you think it's going to be. Cinematography and costuming would be would be on the I think actually it made the list for the cinematography already and or the costuming. But definitely check it out. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned to the horror.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.